Hello everybody. Today is the last lecture about wastewater treatment. And next week we will start about air quality. So let's see what is the topic today. We will continue regarding some of the sludge matter and I will explain to what is sludge digestion. And the new topic will be about the tertiary treatment operations, which are used for nitrogen and phosphorus removal. Finally, I will explain wastewater disposal and reuse opportunities. Concentrated wastewater sludge represent a considerable hazard to environment and must be rendered inert before disposal. So the most common means of stabilizing is the biological degradation. So to get a stabilized sludge, we need to use biological degradation process. First, I'd like to explain what is anaerobic digestion. Anaerobic digestion is a sequence of processes by which microorganisms break down biodegradable material in the absence of oxygen. As we explained before, there are microorganisms, they can work with the presence of oxygen, but the other microorganism can be active when there is no oxygen. So any process done during the absence of oxygen and digest the biodegradable material called this anaerobic digestion. This kind of process is used for industrial or domestic purposes to manage the waste, like during the waste management or sludge management, or to produce some kind of fuels. Much of the fermentation used industrially to produce food and drink products, as well as home fermentation, also using anaerobic digestion process. So these are some of the opportunities where the anaerobic digestion can be utilized. Anaerobic digestion occurs naturally in some soils and in lakes and oceanic basin sediments, where it is usually referred to as an anaerobic activity. And anaerobic activity produces methane gas. There are some other gases produced as a product of the anaerobic digestion as well. Anaerobic digestion process begins with the bacterial hydrolysis of the input materials. Insoluble organic polymers, such as carbohydrates, are broken down to soluble derivatives that become available for other bacteria. So the first step of anaerobic digestion is bacterial hydrolysis. Acetogenic bacteria then convert the sugars and amino acids into carbon dioxide, hydrogen and ammonia, and organic acids. In acidogenesis, bacteria convert these resulting organic acids into acetic acid, along with additional ammonia, hydrogen, and carbon dioxide. Finally, the fourth phase of the anaerobic digestions, metagens. This is a group of bacteria, they are called metagens. Convert these products to the methane and carbon dioxide. Because they are producing methane, they are called metagens. The methanogenic archaea population play an indispensable role in the anaerobic wastewater treatment plants. So here you can see the summary of the biochemistry of anaerobic digestion. There are four phases: hydrolysis, acidogenesis, acetogenesis, and methanogenesis. I will not repeat everything one by one, but I want you to take your time to see what is going on. And as it has been explained, the first phase is the hydrolysis, and in the first phase, complex organic matter, like carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, they are converted to soluble organic molecules, such as sugars, amino acid, and fatty acids. You can see the smaller units forming the carbohydrates are sugars, smaller units making the proteins are amino acids, and smaller units of the fats are fatty acids. So this is called hydrolysis process. And the final products also very important. At the end of the anaerobic digestion, you will get methane and carbon dioxide. Before I continue my lecture, I would like to highly suggest that I will be also uploading one video about the anaerobic digestion process, and it will explain all these 4 phases in detail. So make sure you watch the video as well. So here it shows a kind of anaerobic digester and explanation. What happens in the anaerobic digestion? Convert as much as possible sludge to the end product, such as liquids and gases, while producing as little residual biomass as sludge. So during the sludge digestion process, one of our mission is to stabilize the sludge, but at the same time, we like to reduce the amount of sludge because very big amount of sludge produced in the primary and secondary clarifier, and this is a big problem, how to dispose them. So by using the anaerobic digestion, you will convert sludge to as much as possible to the liquid and gas form and reduce the amount of sludge. Usually, 2-stage anaerobic digestion process is used very commonly. In the 2-stage system, the primary digester is heated to optimize the performance of the hydrolic or acidogenic bacteria. The secondary digester is not normally equipped with mixing or heating facilities because the nature of the methane formation reaction is already exothermic. That means heat producing. So no need any heating in the secondary digester. You can see here how to set up or design 2-stage anaerobic digester for sludge digesting process. The first anaerobic digester includes some kind of mixer and sludge is heated because the first groups they are active here usually work in mesophilic or thermophilic temperature. That means warm or high temperatures. But in the second anaerobic digester, no need for heating, and at the same time, no need for mixing. You are interested to remove the digested sludge away from the supernatant and produce the gas. Now we almost explain what is anaerobic digester use in the sludge digestion, and you have a fair understanding what the anaerobic digestion use in environmental engineering processes. Now I would like to explain some of the tertiary treatment options. The quality of effluent provided by the secondary treatment may not be always sufficient to meet the discharge requirement. As you remember, there were 3 phases of treatment: primary, secondary, and tertiary. And the last phase, these tertiary treatments, sometimes they are called as an advanced treatment. If there is any need for additional treatment, we might need to use tertiary treatment operation. Tertiary treatments like removal of nitrogen and phosphorus compounds, remove additional suspended solids and dissolved solids, and inorganic solids. Wastewater treatment plants that discharge to water bodies that are delicately balanced with respect to the nutrient loss may have nutrient limitation imposed to their effluent. So when we call it nutrients, as discussed before, most often interests are nitrogen and phosphorus compounds, and they might have a strict regulation about their limit on the effluent. Source of nitrogen. Nitrogen compounds result from the biological decomposition of proteins. And when we consider the sewage, toilet flushes, main source is the urea discharged from the human body. Urea is the liquid which is discharged from human to the toilet. These nitrogen may be bound in complex organic molecules, and they are usually referred as an organic nitrogen. Organic nitrogen may be biologically converted to free ammonia and ammonium ion. This is a kind of quick process and usually happen in the wastewater treatment plants too. So most of the organic nitrogen can be found in the form of ammonia and ammonium ion. These two species together, termed names as ammonia nitrogen, exist in equilibrium according to following relationship. So actually, pH of the environment make a kind of balance how much ammonia or how much ammonium ion will be present in the wastewater. Ammonium, it might be biologically oxidized to nitrate if there is molecular oxygen present. You can see the equation here, how ammonium ion is converted to nitrate. And nitrate, in the presence of oxygen, further converted to nitrite ions. So you can see here some of the molecular changes of nitrogen-related ions in the slide. The reaction results in the utilization of about 4.6 milligram of oxygen per each milligram of ammonium nitrogen oxidized. So actually you can see that oxygen demand, especially the first phase of the ammonium oxidation as a 4.6 milligram is quite high. So this nitrogen removal process is quite oxygen demanding process. This is one of the reasons it is costly in the treatment plants. And at the same time, you can see around 7.1 milligram of alkalinity needed to neutralize the acid produced as a part of this oxidation process. So you should also understand that there should be enough alkalinity capacity to neutralize the hydrogen produced. The predominant forms of nitrogen are organic nitrogen and ammonia in the sewage, and biological treatment may result in conversion to nitrite, provided the treatment processes are aerobic and long periods. So this is another thing. Detention time should be enough long to allow these nitrogen compounds to be oxidized to nitrate and nitrate. Because of oxygen demand exerted by ammonia, and because of other environmental factors, removal of ammonia may be required. If we don't remove the ammonia, which is already present in the sewage, and discharge to the water, receiving aquatic environment, that means this oxidation will happen in the aquatic environment, and most of the oxidation will be utilized, and oxygen deficiency will happen in this environment. So that's why removal of nitrogen compounds from the domestic wastewater is very essential. This removal can be managed by air stripping process or biological nitrification and denitrification processes. Now, we briefly covered what is nitrogen, what are the source of nitrogen ions in the domestic wastewater, that means sewage, and why we need to remove them, and how it can be removed in the treatment plants. So I would like to also give a kind of brief about the phosphorus removal. Organically bound phosphorus originates from body and food waste, and upon biological decomposition of these solids, it is released as orthophosphates, and you can see the chemical formula here on the slide. Polyphosphates are used extensively in synthetic detergents, and this is one of the reasons detergents are causing the phosphorus pollution in the aquatic environment. It can be hydrolyzed to orthophosphates too. Therefore, the principal form of phosphorus is assumed to be orthophosphates. And you can see here linear structure of the polyphosphates on the slide. The principal means of phosphorus removal is the chemical precipitation. You can see here how it has been precipitated and phosphorus ions have been removed. Remember the coagulation and flocculation processes. So that's why phosphorus removal can be incorporated into primary and secondary treatment, or maybe added at the end of the processes as a tertiary treatment process. So at the end of the secondary treatment, you can use the chemical precipitation to remove the phosphorus from the wastewater. The most common method of wastewater disposal is by dilution in the surface water, because when you discharge the water to an aquatic environment, they will be diluted with the presence of huge amount of water and the waves and hydrodynamic relations in the aquatic environment. In most cases, secondary treatment might be sufficient to prevent any pollution problems in the receiving water. For cities in coastal areas, ocean disposal offers an economically attractive forms of disposal. So one of the disposal is preferred, dispose the discharge to the sea or ocean. The effluent is transported out to sea by pipelines along the ocean floor, which is called deep discharge. And discharge can be done at multiple points through the manifold. As you can see here in the photo, the pipeline is quite long. So discharge doesn't done immediately on the shoreline. Usually it should be away from the shoreline. Sometimes a couple of kilometers is necessary to protect the aquatic environment and quality of beaches. Irrigation and rapid infiltration are other most common forms of land disposal. So this is another type of disposal. You can discharge the effluent from your wastewater treatment plant to the land. So that means a kind of irrigation. Wastewater successfully used in both agriculture or in maintaining the vegetation in parks, golf courses, along with freeways, airport runways. So this water can be utilized to irrigate this kind of areas. But when it is going to be used for agricultural purpose, there is a more restricted standards to be complied with. And usually this discharge or effluent TSE, we call it usually treated sewage effluent TSE, should not be used to irrigate the vegetables if they are eaten raw. And as it has been explained, this treated sewage effluent can be used in recreational facilities, such as in big golf areas or landscape irrigation, or it might be used as a source of industrial water supply. And today's lecture finished. I wish you to watch this video and learn this subject. Bye now.